guys, today we're going to have a little bit of a discussion, a information sharing session, as you may say, on the charging mechanics. In Way of the Hunter here, the new charging mechanics that have been implemented to the game on all the maps. As I've been asked to do a guide on the charging mechanics, however, the guide is more of a work in progress guide, because at this point I'm not too sure if I'm ever going to completely figure it out. There's just a lot of randomness to it. So I'm out here trying to make Kate Buffalo angry at me, and figured I would do a bit of a video just to get some information out there. So yes, as a disclaimer, all the info I'm going over, most of it is not confirmed and probably never will be, but it is good for the community to sort of share what it's seeing, and a lot of my videos are about just kind of showing you the game how I see it, and video footage of stuff happening, just so you can take that information and compare to what you're seeing in your own game, and then come to your sort of own conclusions how the mechanics are working, since the developers are very reluctant on sharing the details on this sort of thing. And the trouble with this mechanic is a lot of it is very unknown, and to add to the uncertainty of the unknown, there's a lot of randomness to it as well, a lot of RNG in the background. So as any good scientist knows, to figure out something, you need to have consistent, repeatable results to start isolating stuff down. And that is the trickiest part about the charging mechanic, is trying to get consistent, repeatable results on it. There's a lot of stuff that happens. Like when the charging happens, there's a lot of like one-time things, like, oh, this happened one time to me, that must be how it's working. However, if anything only just happens once, it can't really be included into sorting it out. You have to be able to have the same charge or like very similar charge mechanics work, and have it repeatable. So what we're first going to go over is the stuff that we know for sure. The certainty that we have about charging mechanics. It's not much, but we're going to go over what has been confirmed. And what we know for sure is very little, is basically just this sort of paragraph and bullet points in the patch notes for 1.24. However, there is a couple other things the developers have confirmed beyond the patch notes that we'll go over as well. Okay, so what we know is that there's two main categories that can trigger a charge, and that's just in this first part here. So it says when the player gets close to them, is one, is a lower probability, and when the animal gets hurt. So this is the first known thing. This one's fairly clear, when they get hurt, right? But it's still a little bit vague, because how hurt, is there a degree to how injured they have to be to trigger the charge? Such as, is it a fatal wound that is required to trigger the charge, or any kind of wounding them can trigger the charge? So that's an unknown here. For an example, if you hit them with the SM-12-300 and they don't go down immediately, is that different than wounding them just with like the 22, like putting one little shot into them? That's an unknown here. My assumption is they probably didn't do that sort of detail with it, and that any kind of wounding the animal would fall into this category, but that's an assumption. So as I go through this, you're going to see there's a bunch of assumptions, but you have to start somewhere, and pretty much the assumptions I have to make are what's most likely to be happening. And what I'm trying to figure out is the certainties, because you need the certainties you got to know those so you can sort of figure out the rest. So this one's fairly certain, and it's a safe assumption that any kind of wounding would trigger it. It's just not for sure, but this one's fairly safe. The other category up here is when the player gets close to them. Now this is quite vague, because when the player gets close to them, a lot of things happen, right? The animal can go alert, or the alertness meter starts going on, the hunting pressure starts triggering. We have the defensive curiosity mode that happens. So you have all these things that happen when you get close to them. So what exactly about getting close to the animals triggers the event of a charge? So this is what is known here. A fairly certain path that they can charge, that we know what triggers it, and then a very vague one where we can't really isolate what's causing the charge here, since there's the alertness, the hunting pressure, and the defensive mode here. And, oh look, good old DD33 is playing with Leonard today. Maybe we get a video from him soon. That would be cool. What else do we have here? So, the other thing that's confirmed is the categories within, right? So they've broken these down into 3 different categories of probability of a charge happening. So these animals up here are charged sometimes, and we have rarely, and then we have very rarely. So this is something that's known, but there's a little bit more detail that developers brought out. And that is within these categories, the chances are actually different. So here, a Cape Buffalo might have higher chance of charging than, say, a honey badger. And a Kodiak bear might have a higher chance of charging than, say, the black bear. So that is a little bit of additional information that that's not in here, that there's minor differences within these categories. The other thing that's not in the patch notes is anything about that defensive mode or the curiosity mode that is in the game. So that's kind of a big unknown exactly how that functions, and it's a big part of trying to figure this out. That defensive mode, just because it's not really confirmed anywhere. It's just sort of like surprise. The animals have another state that they're in, which brings me back to this other point when it gets close to them. So alertness, hunting pressure in this defensive mode. But we have had it confirmed that the defensive mode, or the curiosity mode that the animals have, is directly related to the charging mechanic. But how the relation works, of course, we don't know that either. And what I mean by that is the defensive mode required for a charge to happen, or can it happen without the defensive mode? And that was one of the first things I was trying to look at, and I can't fully isolate that one down. It appears that the animals have to be in that defensive mode, or that defensive mode has to trigger for a charge to happen. And the only reason I don't know this for sure, but the reason I'm siding on it is because I did a bunch of tests where I'm just spooking a bunch of these Cape Buffalo without having them in defensive mode. I'm sort of just running at them, or I'm shooting at them, and I'm trying to get it to trigger, and I can't actually get any kind of charge to happen. And that's one of the tests that I have ran. Is it appears they won't charge unless they enter this defensive mode. But I can't confirm that at all, because I've seen other videos on YouTube and the shorts and stuff like that, people getting charged. But the problem is with a short, most of the videos are, well, there's other ones out there, but they're sort of, I haven't seen them all either, but they're not always clear. You can't see everything that's going around them, so I can't tell if they're in a defensive mode or not. But some of them would imply that they don't need to be in that curiosity defensive mode to charge. But I can't repeat it, right? I'm out there running at them and shooting at them, and I'm doing it over and over again, and they will not charge me. So I'm leaning onto the side that since the developers say that defensive sort of mode is connected to the charging, I think it's a fairly safe assumption that defensive mode has to be currently turned on or toggled on in the herd for the charge to happen. And it might be more confusion because it might all happen at the same time, right? It may look like they're nice and calm and just sitting there eating or sleeping, and then all of a sudden you shoot and then they charge. It might just happen that kind of roll happens at the same time, right? That they go defensive and then the charge rolls at the same time. So that's where it gets a little more confusion. But that's I can't repeat that one. So I'm still working on it. But that is information to bear in mind when you're out in your own map. Just sort of take note. If you get charged, were they in that defensive mode, or were they just diddling around, right, without really acknowledging you there? But that one's really challenging. But the developer said it's connected, so it's kind of a safe assumption there. But that's until proven otherwise, that's kind of where I'm going with, or where I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be not running around just randomly trying to get them to charge. I'm going to try to get them in the defensive mode and then provoke a charge. So that is pretty much what is known and what's sort of assumed, kind of where we're at. With this, there's a whole lot of this is a big conversation in the community, but there's a whole lot of guessing going on. It's sort of all over the place. People seeing this, people seeing that, but there's one connection there is people are only seeing it once, and then assuming that's how it goes, and then what I'm trying to do is get something repeatable, And I'm trying to figure out exactly how to do that. I've been keeping it simple, basically just doing general tests with just getting close to them, as it says here, taking this, literally kind of at his word, and also when they get hurt. So far, it is, and it's with Cape Buffalo. Pretty much, I want to test out of this, most likely category here, and Cape Buffalo is the obvious easiest one. I could fiddle around mule deer; they're easy to find, right? But the Cape Buffalo, I imagine they're more aggressive than mule deer would make sense to me, and they're easy to find, right? And they're out in the open. So most of my tests have been on these guys here. So far, I've done a bunch of tests with just getting close to them, but this is very unsuccessful with getting them to charge. Just getting close to them. I've also gone out and tried several times to try this path, getting them to charge when I injure them. But I've only been using I've used other rifles, but I went out with the 22 just to nick a few of them. But I've got one connection here. During my tests, I haven't been waiting for them to get into a defensive mode. I've been sort of impatient because I've been trying to figure out if that curiosity defensive mode is actually required or not. Because if it's not required, why is it in the game, right? Because some of the videos out there appear to have them not in a defensive mode and they just sort of charge. But then why even have that curiosity defensive thing in the game at all? So I was testing that. I was ignoring the little defensive mode, and I was doing a bunch of tests getting close to them, triggering the alertness, doing all sorts of stuff. I did a bunch of that on stream. And I did get one to work, maybe two, I can't remember now. And I've been trying to get them to charge me in the higher probability category of hurting them, but so far unsuccessful. But this is me just sort of running up and shooting them without any of this defensive stuff triggering. So I'm starting to leave that kind of category behind, and I'm starting to focus on doing tests when I know they're in a defensive state, which then leads one to try and figure out that defensive state, which then it just gets even more confusing, sort of. Oh, and one more thing. When I'm hopping back in here, just one other thing that is confirmed and known, the difficulty here. It's confirmed that the difficulty does not increase or decrease the chances of a charge. So we should be able to do the testing on hiker, but I'll probably just try default and just see what we see in the video. So I hope that sort of makes sense of what we know and what we do not know, and sort of where I am in the testing, just so you can take that info, maybe do some tests on your own and just sort of observe. So far, just sort of repeat. If I'm not worrying about the defensive mode and I'm just either running up to them or just jogging up to them or sneaking up to them and I'm spooking them on purpose or just getting close to them on purpose, it's very unlikely that I'm getting successful charges when that's happening. And also, if I just kind of walk up and then shoot around them or shoot at them, still getting quite unsuccessful chances. But the one thing that's connecting both of them is I'm not worrying about that defensive state. So I will do a couple little test runs in this video where we try to get them in that defensive mode. And how you can tell is the defensive mode doesn't require them to go alert. It doesn't require hunting pressure or anything like that, or it doesn't appear to anyways. But it's really tricky to sort of tell when the defensive mode is on sometimes because the animations are sort of fairly similar. They just look at you, right? They look your way, like half the herd looks your way and looks down. But hunting pressure can also look like that, and alertness can also look at that as well. But the one difference, of course, is in that curiosity defensive mode, they will start to approach you, right? So that's what I'll be looking for. I'm not going to try to make any sort of action unless I know they're in that mode. But that mode is also has to be almost its own video because I'm having a really difficult time keeping them in that defensive mode. Anyways, I'm not sure I'm going to get into that because that's a loaded mechanic itself. Because we're thinking that since the developers love meters, like the alertness meter, the hunting pressure meter, the lure meter, all that sort of stuff, we figured the defensive mode is also a meter too, because with like the alertness meter, we can repeat it, right? It's easy to trigger the alertness in an animal and then stop moving and then let them calm down and then trigger it, so it's an easily repeatable thing. So I figured maybe a defensive mode was similar, trigger the defensive mode, then do something that keeps them defensive. But I'm very unsuccessful with that as well, so I'm starting to lean on the side that defensive mode is a toggle. Oh, here's some here now. Maybe we can just play with these guys. The defensive mode is a toggle with a timer. And the only reason I say that is because I haven't been able to really manipulate the defensive mode. And by manipulate, I mean like extend it. So if they go into like defensive mode, they'll come out and investigate you. But it seems, I haven't timed it yet, but it seems like they'll come out and if you don't move, they'll come out and investigate you in about 30 seconds into defensive mode. They'll just give up and walk back again. But I'm trying to keep them in the defensive mode, right? So they come out to see me. I'll start to try and move around a little bit to try and make it happen, but they seem to, the timer runs out and they just trot back again. So yeah, since I'm now focused on trying to get them to charge with defensive mode on, the science experiment turns into trying to get, trying to figure out the defensive mode, which is, it seems very random. It's anyways, I'm gonna ramble on about that. But anyways, that's what I'm gonna be trying to test. I'm gonna try to get them to charge, but only when I know the little defensive stuff's active. And you'll know that because they can be in a calm state, kind of diddling around where they are now, but they'll be looking at you, and at least one of them should be starting to approach. And then we just have to figure out what sort of test we want to run. If they're in defensive mode, do we shoot one of them, or do we do the other mode where you're just getting close to them? It would seem the wise thing to do is to shoot one of them because that's the highest probability to get a charge, right? So I'm trying to debate on that, but I think, I didn't actually do any kind of gear swapping. I think, what did I bring with me? I think that's the 22. And what else did I bring? Oh, I brought a bigger gun. That looks like the Springfield. Okay. So you don't really need the 22 just to wound these guys. I mean, the Springfield will just wound them as well, probably, for the most part. Oh my goodness, the video's going on 18 minutes. I haven't done anything yet. But but it is an informational sort of video. I want to get all that out to you, just so you can sort of start comparing what I'm seeing and what your guys are seeing, and maybe we can figure it out. Alright, so with these guys, I think what we'll start with is I won't shoot them. We'll see if what they do ever. I'll see if I can get them sort of in defensive mode here. Now, that first category, so remember we got the two categories, the low probability and high probability. The low one was vague about just being close to the animals. All it says is about being close. It doesn't say about hunting pressure, doesn't say alertness, doesn't say anything about defensive mode, just says about being close, which is super vague. So we don't know what is taking part of that. And then there's the less vague one, which is the wounding them. But right now I'm going to look at the more vague one. And because I want to get this information out to you, it appears that if you change that sentence about... actually, let me go right back out to the menu just for a second. Back to our nice little paragraph, because I'm trying to simplify how vague this is. And what it appears to be is we need to focus on the events that trigger the charge, right? So this one's pretty obvious. They're getting hurt. The assumption is any weapon would be the same, but we don't know. But that's a safe assumption. This one over here is getting close to them. What I'm leading to conclude is by far when the animals are charging, what I'm seeing and what I'm seeing in other videos is when they spook. So I don't know what other states trigger this, but I know for sure, and we got to focus on what we know for sure. We know spooking them when they go into the spooking state, when they've spooked. We know that a charge probability happens during that. And I think by far what's happening out in the community is this is the one that's happening the most. But they're also, of course, this one when they're shooting them. But you'll hear a lot of people say that they're hunting an animal and then all of a sudden they get charged from the side from a different species, or they shoot at an animal and then they get charged from the side from animals that they didn't even know that were there. I had it happen with a black bear. I knew he was there, but what happened is I shot a mule deer and that would have triggered a spook in the bear, and then that spook event triggered a probability roll and a charge. So I know spooking can do it, and we know hitting them shooting them, wounding them can trigger it. So we can sort of change this statement here if we ignore all the other things that might be able to cause it, because the most likely one is the spook. So we can change it, instead of when a player gets close to them, we can just change it to when a player spooks them. And if we start rewording it like that, it becomes a little more simple. And we can sort of read this paragraph backwards, right? We can say, Cape Buffalo charge sometimes when the player spooks them. You know, you can sort of read it backwards like that, and then it starts making a little bit more sense. Instead of this vague closeness, since we know spooking triggers it, we can sort of focus on that part of this and sort of ignore the other things. Since the other things don't seem to spook them or get them to charge, at least it's really hard to repeat it. I don't see much of it. It's almost all spooking that's doing it. All right, back in the game. So if we narrow it down to what we know and simplify it, you know, to get a place to start. Basically, the conditions of the test that I'm in now is I need them in the defensive mode, and I either need to wound them or I need to spook them while they're in defensive mode. And that is my best guess about how this is working. But it's super hard to repeat because we don't know the probabilities, and they don't always go in defensive mode either. So if that assumption is the case, even when they're in defensive mode, if you get them in there, they just run away a lot of the time anyway. So it's really hard to test and repeat. But same thing, I know I repeat myself. This is not a hard 100% guide to this. It's just like an informational guide in progress, sharing the information out there and see. Because I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to peg this down. Exactly what's happening here. It's too much RNG rolling in the backwards, I think, or in the background, I think. All right, and we know difficulty does not factor into the charge probability. However, it does factor into, you know, alertness and things like that. And so we're on default here. And so that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to get them aware that I'm here. Now you figure they should already be like the alertness meter should be building by now. I'm kind of jogging at 120. So they should be getting a defensive check. Okay, there's the alert, but that's not a defensive thing, right? So let's see if one of them starts coming out to me. That's requirement number 1 of my test. Because if I just shot at them now or ran at them now, they just run away. I haven't been able to get them to charge me in this state, where they're just going alert, getting a little bit of hunting pressure. I haven't been able to get it to work. So I've shifted into testing it. Oh, there we go. There we go. So we got a defensive one now. There. So now, if they're in defensive mode, simply spooking them should roll the dice on a charge. Okay, so they're approaching. Cool, good. And I'm going to approach them. If I sit still, their defensive mode will just turn off after a little bit. So you need to be able to be triggering the spook. So I hope this works. No, there's the spook. Come on, roll a charge. No. This is why it's so challenging to repeat. They were definitely in the curious defensive state, and we know a spook event does the charge roll, like it does a probability of a charge. So this is more often than not what I'm seeing. And I know a lot of people get charged. I get charged too. But when I'm trying to make it happen, I'm starting to get a feel just how low the probability is, right? And they're just running around in circles. So this, I mean, I can track this herd down and try again. And maybe that's just what we'll do. I should also try like a larger herd as well. Now keep in mind that's just the get close to them requirement, which I've summarized into just spooking them, and we were pretty close. So, anyways, it is pretty tricky to repeat this sort of stuff. But I do know if I didn't put them in defensive mode, they would have done the same thing. So, and we do know that defensive mode is connected. So that's what I'm running on. And I'm gonna try to stop repeating myself now. But it sometimes helps. Let me keep my line of thought here. So I'm going to go up and we'll bother these guys one more time. Maybe we'll try to put them in defensive mode, and then we'll wound one maybe. And I just have to decide, do I do it with the 22 or do I hit them? I guess I can hit them in the leg or something like that, like one of the females with the 30-06 to make sure there's some damage. But that's one thing I don't know, right? Does it have to be like a fatal wound to do it? Like I said before, I'm gonna side that it doesn't have to be a fatal wound to make them charge. But we do know that wounding them is the highest probability. So if we take a highly aggressive animal and then do the high probability roll, which is wounding, we should be able to get a charge here. And with the addition of making sure that they're in that little curious defensive mode. So that'll be the next requirements here. So we did the spook when they're defensive, it didn't work, and but that could just be the roll of the dice, right? And next time I'll actually put a bullet into one of them or something, and we'll see. All right, the buffalo are over the slope here, and they're not really in a spot to do a good test on them. I'm going to end up spooking them probably before I get them in vision. But I am going to try here, so because we might just get another attempt at just spooking them charge. See, they're right here. I'm definitely not... we've got some animals in the background there too, so maybe we can use those. Basically, it's a try again. I don't know if herd size matters or anything. Oh, what's this guy doing? Do we got another one? There we go. Defensive mode triggered. The problem is I don't have... Okay, so it's triggered. I do not have sight on them, right? So I can't do the shot test. So we'll just spook them again. They're definitely coming to check me out. Okay, so we know they're defensive. And maybe I can get a shot off here. I don't want to lose the defensive mode. Because I know they... Yep, okay. So definitely here. Oh, no. Keep standing. Alright. Let's just put one into a leg. Here, a leg artery shot. Okay, did we get a charge? No. Let's just do camera mode. Another question I have is what happens if you get charged in camera mode? You get a shot of the guy going flying. So he's wounded there, poor guy. All right. So defensive mode was on. A high risk animal and the high probability wounding. Nothing. Tricky to test this stuff. So this is definitely a video about. Let me know what you guys think. It's definitely not a video about me saying I know what's going on here. I'm just showing you what my take is on it, because I know it will help a few people out there sort of get a start on this. It is kind of showing how unlikely it is actually to get charged, even when you're trying to make it happen. But it certainly does happen, that's for sure. But it's getting it to repeat. So we got some wild boar here. Those buffalo went this way. I mean, maybe if you keep bugging them, maybe that increases the odds. There's a whole lot of maybes. I don't know where wild boar's at. Are they in the middle category? Let's see if we can get them to do something. I haven't tried these guys. All I got is a bunch of young animals in my reserve. Drive me crazy. Okay. Come on, guys. Notice that I'm here. We got elevation, wind is good. They should be noticing me now. Yes. Alright, so we got alert. This guy's laughing at me. Oh, what do we got over here? Oh, honey badgers. I still haven't gotten these guys to run at me. They're supposed to be aggressive. Okay. Anybody wanna, take a swing at me here? So we're looking for the defensive mode to trigger. I don't know if they go defensive when the alertness is on, or it has to be off. I don't know that. Okay, there's the alertness meter has dropped. And And I'm not getting these guys defensive, though. This is what I mean about you can't always get them in that defensive mode. Because if I ran at them now, or I shot at them now, I'm almost 100% certain I would not get a charge to happen. We'll jog up. Doing these tests gives you a lot of practice in getting close anyway. Since I'm actually trying to spook them to a point. So still, they're still not concerned. Come on, I'm jogging right up to you guys. Okay, that should trigger an alert. No? Alright. No, they're not coming out to me, so that's mean. I'm not doing any test unless they are clearly defensive. Because I've done this too many times without waiting for it. Like, it's a much easier test just to run in at them, or just to shoot at them, right? This is a harder one to do, so this is the... Since there's a dev confirmed connection. How am I jogging this close to these guys? What's going on here? I am on default. I mean, even default has a... Come on, guys. I don't want to send them immediately running. Okay, so they're alerted again. Somebody approach me. I do really like the sounds in the game. Anybody else around? No. Gives us a good opportunity to watch the animations. See, these guys are not going defensive. Come on, how about you two? You're stuck looking at me. Nope. I like the tail up. So I might have hit hunting pressure level. Looks like I did. This is like a hunting pressure thing where they're just like, I'm out. That's that other meter, but see, I can't trigger the charge, like, or the defensive mode on these guys. And I think that's step 1. So, so the valuable info is if you don't see them in defensive mode, you should be able to rest easy that they're not going to charge you. Aha! Yay! Got one. Okay, so should we just spook them? Come on, buddy. I can't see him anymore. Oh, no, he turned around. No, 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 you were. See how quick that happens? See, now I don't trust that they're defensive. Weird, eh? I'm going to wait till the alert falls off. I mean, maybe the alertness kicks them out of the defensive mode? I don't know. There's too much going on to really pin it down here. I'm going to wait till the alert falls off. Because this guy, this adult female, is the one that went defensive. So, in my experience, they repeat. Oh, maybe we got a different one? No. And then there's people saying about females doing it more, or males doing it more. If you hit a female, they'll do it. I'm not. It's far too many factors to test. As far as I can tell, I don't think male or female matter. But they might. They might. Okay. This might be defensive, but I need you to approach. No, that's not. See, they're not alert, but they're looking at me, which is usually hunting pressure. But I need them to be walking towards me for me to know for sure, because I actually don't know what state this is. I think this is just a hunting pressure state. Is this guy coming out at me? Or I think they're just doing the hunting pressure walk in a circle. I know, thrilling science here. Yeah, I think this is just hunting pressure. Unless one of you come out and start walking towards me. I need to know that the mode's on. See, I'm not convinced, right? They're not coming out towards me. I'm not convinced they're defensive. I mean, it's usually clear when they are. They'll walk right slowly out to you like those Cape Buffalo did. Okay, are you alert now? I don't want to send you running. No, still calm. Crazy how close I'm getting to them just jogging upright. There's the alert. Ah. Okay, so he's alert and in defensive mode? Is that like a combo that can happen? Why'd he stop? They're supposed to keep coming. Alright, I'm gonna start losing patience with these guys. Shouldn't they be walking out towards me? Now they're alert. I'm just gonna start running at these guys in a second here. Maybe wound one of them? So they're calm now, but still looking back at me. But as you can see, they're not approaching, right? And I'm not convinced of the defensive state unless they're approaching me. Okay, this has got to be it. Here we go. Man, okay, I got a lot of them. Okay, wounding time. Oh no, one turned away. I don't know, I can't tell. I can't tell. Front leg artery shot. Do we get a charge? No. Tricky business. So give this a shot when you're bored. Try to do your best to make sure they're in a defensive state and see if you can get them to charge you. Just for some information. Because I'm not actually sure how much I'm going to focus on this because it's so time consuming to try over and over again. That's why I'm really trying to figure out a consistent way to get them to charge, but it's just the probabilities are all way too low. So that's why I can't really do a guide on this. This is going to be learned over time, over a lot of interactions. The species are probably going to all act a little differently. Things like that. So it's a work in progress guide sort of thing. Hopefully some of this can give you something to think about anyways. But as far as I can tell, I am doing the highest probability stuff to get a charge. Making sure they're in the little defensive thing, and then I'm wounding them, and I'm picking the more aggressive animals. Even though the warthog isn't, they're probably in the middle, I think. So now I don't know, because the Cape Buffalo went this way too. Maybe I should just try like one more large Cape Buffalo herd, and then I'll leave it at that, with no successful charges. Hey, I think I just got a badger to attack me. I did. It's not gonna help me. What was the little oomph? Was that? Did he just bite my ankles and run away? I was running to the Cape Buffalo, so I was just doing a full sprint. But it's not going to help my science because I wasn't able to see their state. So, were they in like a defensive mode or not? Was it just, if they didn't go defensive, then what's the point in having the defensive thing in the game? He just runs up, bites my ankles. Well, there, a successful charge. I was just running at them. I've tried that many times with the Cape Buffalo and everything. They always just run away from me. But that time it worked, so it shows you how random this is. In the end, that might be my charging guide. Here's your charging guide. It is random. So you'll never know. There's no way to figure it out. Anyways, I'll keep my eyes peeled. That's the one question I'm trying to figure out. Is do they have to be in that defensive mode or not? The charge. So that's going to be in my own hunts, what I'm going to be watching for. So when I do get charged, I'm going to be taking a note to see if they were defensive or not. And it was impossible to tell in those honey badgers, right? Because they could have went defensive and I would have never known. And then also, though, honey badgers might not approach you, right? They might be designed completely different. And also, the defensive and charge thing might, like that dice roll might roll at the same time. So, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Okay, so I just ran up to these Cape Buffalo again. They're just running away. So that's pretty much identical to what I did with the honey badgers there. I just ran towards them. And so that group of 4 has never charged me or anything, and they no idea. There they go. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm going to find a big herd of Cape Buffalo, and I'll just give that one whirl before I end the video. So we'll go look for a large herd here. It does seem that the UTV travels up these hills faster than the Jeep. Kinda seems that way, but I'm not too sure. So that's me. I'm just gonna keep an eye out for this mechanic while I hunt. I won't go at it too hard just because of how frustrating I think it can get. And yeah, maybe we can sort it out in time. I don't think there's any more info out there than what I've stated in this video. So this is probably as close to a charging mechanic guide as you can get, I think. We can also just give up on the guide entirely, or the mechanic entirely, and just submit to the devs and give up on it and say it's just random. It's random based on that little chart. We'll let them have their mystery, maybe, or maybe we can sort of figure it out. But there's a few mechanics in the game that have stumped me. How the damage works with the jewels transferring into damage in the damage bar, that's got me stumped. And the need zone flipping has me stumped, so there's a couple things I've had to give up on until some more info is made available. This might be one of them. It also might just not be worth figuring out. We'll just accept they just charge when they want to charge. But I would like to know, you know, like it would be some benefit to be able to know when it's most likely they will charge, like if we can make some kind of connection. So just when you're hunting, like if they're, you know, if they're not in that defensive state and it's required, then you can sort of, you can hunt the herd in peace, right? You don't have to worry about being charged at. But maybe it's probably not what the developers want, right? They want you to be completely unsure about the charge, and they might be winning. There's usually a herd out here. Nope, here's buffalo. Alright, one more attempt before we end the video. What do we got in here? 3-star mature. 3-star adult. Right on. Alright, so we don't want to mess up these guys. But we'll target one of the females, maybe. Alright, so what should we do for this final test? Try and get them in defensive mode. Do a rear leg artery shot or something like that. See if we can get them to run at us. I think that's the highest probability. Alright, so they're alerted. And we'll wait. Okay, the alertness has fallen off. Wind is good. We will draw a little closer. They're alert again. Does anyone want to come out and greet me? I'm gonna guess that if I keep bothering them, that they eventually will come out to defend themselves, maybe. Okay, so they are being pressured with hunting pressure, but not coming out to see me. I mean, does this count as like a defensive thing? I think it's just hunting pressure and them running around being funny. I mean, I could take a shot right now. Maybe it's all... maybe... I don't know. Don't know. What are you guys doing now? Because this is like how the animals typically act just underneath hunting pressure. Just all sort of fiddly. But I'm not convinced that simply them looking at you is the defensive mode, because that's what they've done on the other maps, just for hunting pressure. So I really want one to be coming out at me. Alright, calm and staring at me is a hunting pressure symptom, or evidence of that. Are you gonna come out here and see me yet? Oh, maybe. Maybe. Can I run a bit at you? I think we got them. 2 of them. Now, do you shoot one that's coming at you or one in the herd behind them? Okay, we got him. Okay, this one for sure. I don't want to wound him though. Let's hit one in the back, like back here. One rear leg artery shot coming up. Okay, and any charging? No. Oh well, at least you guys can see what happens when you try to get them to charge. Maybe it'll help some people. Seeing that it's more rare than maybe we were thinking. Because I'm not too sure what else I could do. If I kept going at them, they would just spook. And then the wounding them is supposed to be the highest chance, so... Yep, I'm kind of stumped. I will check that blood quick, just in case it did hit an artery. Alright, nope, it missed. Off they go. She's gonna be limping for the rest of her days. Poor little Cape Buffalo. Okay, one more try. There they off in the distance. I'm just gonna charge them. Alright, here we go. I'm sprinting. We probably shouldn't sprint, but I was sprinting through the honey badgers, though. They're just gonna run. Yep. Oh, well. Alright, we're out there in the video here. I'll keep you guys posted if we get any kind of more information on it. Here we go. Sniper Elite, Goose, Hunter. Oh. Oh, too low. Oh, not leading enough. Oh, that was close. A couple of them got close. Okay, guys, that'll be it for now. So happy hunting. Hopefully that video can help you out, give you some information. Let me know your thoughts, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of this. Maybe it'll stump us forever. Who knows? Thanks for watching, though, guys. See you in the next one, and take care.